Welcome, John and John. I'm excited to have you guys. We can go way back. I consider you both friends. So what's going on? You can start.
Where do you want me to start? Well, first of all, there's a distinction between us. I'm the John with the H in his name. And the other ones are with multiple syllables, right, John?
Multiple.
Right, okay. So, yeah, Jennifer, if you don't mind, I can just briefly start. I guess you want to talk about the payment protection program for the SBA.
Yeah.
And I'll begin by saying that this has been happening very, very rapidly, probably at almost at the speed of sound. And you know, here at Tompkins, we are an SBA preferred lender, so that automatically brings us into the program. Although we found out there are other banks who are SBA preferred lenders, and they've opted out of this program. That was kind of shocking to us, but they have their reasons. You know, this is such an enormous project, so you know, in all fairness, there are institutions out there who just don't have the resources that other banks would have, particularly banks and the regional banks. Community banks are a little bit more, because this is right up our bailiwick here, and that program is designed to small businesses. I mean, they're in dire need right now, and we got to get emergency funds rapidly, ASAP. And we're fortunate that here at Tompkins, because we are part of a 4-bank holding company, that we do have the resources that we're able to commit to this program. And daily, we're committing more and more resources. And even as we speak today, that was part of our mobilization plan, is to determine what other resources are we going to need, because we're just really starting to get a grasp of how large this process is going to be. Yeah. So let me just back up, if you want me to, just to explain what the payment protection program is about and how it's structured.
Absolutely.
Speak about that, because I'm not sure how much information everybody has had. Although when we communicate with good local accountants like John and some others around the community, it seems like the accounting world is pretty well informed about this program. So kudos to them. But this was a result of the CARES Act bill, which was signed last Friday into law. So here we are 1 week later, and the SBA had all intentions of getting this kicked off today. And I understand it was actually kicked off today. It was with I'm going to call a very rough kickoff. I'm not sure if I'm sure most of the banks weren't even able to participate yet. And we actually were not able to process any applications. More on that in a minute. However, I believe we're going to start seeing a lot of movement on this program beginning as soon as Monday, maybe Tuesday. And I think when it happens, it's going to happen very, very fast, and there's going to be just literally billions of dollars flowing into the hands of small businesses, and hopefully that can be the life preserver that they're looking for. What this program is all about is this is under the SBA administration here, the Small Business Administration. And this is different from the SBA's Emergency Injury Disaster Program, which is a straight 7(a) loan, a straight loan made by the SBA directly to small businesses. And it functions as a traditional loan in that, you know, they got to do underwriting. The SBA has to do underwriting. They look for collateral, personal guarantees. It does have very favorable payment terms, but the payment protection program is different in the sense that funding is going to be through the nation's banks, and of course Tompkins being one of them, and as opposed to coming directly from the SBA. What's ideal about this program is the ease, supposedly the design of the ease of application. And I've seen the application, and the application is a fairly simple one, and it does not involve nearly as much information as a traditional business loan application would involve, as well as supporting documentation. What's making this difficult is the volume. And as you can imagine, there's $349 billion earmarked by the government for this program. And it's likely that these funds, we're hearing that these funds can actually be dried up in a matter of days. So that goes to show you the scale of what this project's all about. But what's nice about this program is it's a simple application process where the bank can qualify based on 2.5 times their average monthly payroll. So the intent here is to get money in the hands of small businesses to keep employees employed or to rehire employees back. And that is the design, the premise behind the design of the program.
You just hit the most
Sure.
popular question. Oh, I sound garbled. Do I sound garbled here?
No, you're fine.
Okay, good.
Why I sound garbled?
No. The
Okay.
question, the most popular question that I need to reject is, if I already laid people off, is it too late?
No, you can bring them back, and that's what the SBA is trying to do.
Yeah.
But and this is where the program now has a backstop, that once the money is in the hands of the small business owner, the clock starts ticking, and that 8 weeks later, the small business owner can apply for debt forgiveness. So let's say if a business was able to obtain a $100,000 loan, and if they meet certain criteria, most or all of that loan can be forgiven after 8 weeks. But the small business owner has to make an application to make the debt forgiven. And the primary thrust behind that is 75% of the loan proceeds has to be demonstrated that it went towards payroll costs. So again, you can see where the design of that is to support payroll for businesses for 2 months. This is a temporary relief package. It's not to be the end all, but we're hoping that in 2 months, we're going to have a much better understanding of the economic fallout of the coronavirus, or COVID-19 as they call it. And, I'm sure there are going to be other programs coming about. But if the business does get approval for the debt forgiveness, and we anticipate most businesses will, that in essence, it turns out to be a grant to that business. Where the banks come in is why we're involved is, obviously the first obvious answer to that would be is, well, this is to the benefit of the business community, and as a community bank, that's our role. But more importantly is to buoy up the economy again, because more than half the workforce in this country is employed by small businesses. Small business being those that have 500 or fewer employees. So the banks get involved in that. We get 100% guarantee of the SBA. So obviously it becomes a riskless loan once it's approved. And the benefit to the business owner, in addition to getting quick access to funds, is the business owner does not have to provide a personal guarantee, nor does a business owner have to offer up any collateral. It's a fully unsecured loan. The application is reliant on self-certification of the business owner, as well as certifications and representations made by the bank on behalf of the business owner. So with that is we and most other banks are going to be looking for supporting documentation, not to supply the SBA, but to be ready that we can help the business ascertain and document the use of the loan proceeds. So when they do apply for debt forgiveness, that the documentation is already there and they can get that debt forgiven rather quickly. For that portion, for any portion of the loan that is not forgiven, that loan has to be repaid over a 2-year period, and an interest rate right now is 1%, but that's part of the thing that's been changing. It originally started at 4%, went to 0.5%, now it's 1%, and I think that is the final answer. So it is going to be 1%. Obviously, banks don't make money on 1%, and we think that this is going to be just a temporary funding for the businesses. So we're not in this really for profit maximization, but in all honesty, the SBA is also providing some fee income to the banks as an incentive to be the conduit for funding here. So that's believe it or not, that's the high level overview. There's much more involved with this. There are some certain criteria, eligibility criteria as far as size constraints. Not every business can apply, but it does apply to businesses, again, 500 employees or less, and even not-for-profits. Sole proprietorships and independent contractors.
Yeah, which is huge
Yeah.
for my industry. Question, John, can anybody come to Tompkins to apply, or does they have to be a customer of Tompkins?
Right now, we're focusing on customers, as you can imagine. but we're going to have more on that probably by Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
But then there's some guidance there that is being driven by the SBA. I really can't get into it, but there's some of the complexities, and this is where government regulation can come clashing, because here in the banking world we have certain regulations we got to abide by, especially when it deals with new customers. So we're still trying to understand some of the guidelines from the SBA. So I don't have a full answer to that yet.
Okay.
But we do hope to open it up to the entire business community, and we will have more information on that hopefully by Monday. The reason being is we've been on a conference calls twice today so far with the SBA. Our SBA team is on their second conference call with the SBA representatives. We try to get some clarification, and we know we're not alone. We know there's a multitude of other banks out there trying to get some clarification. So this is much more complicated than it was intended. So once we get clarification, then we can determine where we can go with new customers.
Okay, fair enough. It's a lot of uncharted territory for all.
Unbelievable, yeah.
I didn't mention there is a Q&A box down at the bottom. If anybody has any questions, we will try to get them answered. And if not, we will get them answered and get back to you immediately after. So John, you have some stuff to add to what John 1 said?
John with an H, you mean?
John Schneider.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have a good amount of info in regards to what we have been showing so far. An update on what you heard, John. I had a customer who already reached out to me. They had received a call from an SBA representative today, and they were told that their loan is going to be pushed forward, that the loan will not have a personal guarantee, that the term will be out 30 years, and that if they go into default, they will not do anything on a collection status. So it's even better news now for the small business owners. Again, everything's kind of developing literally by the minute, and that was coming directly from a representative from the SBA. When I spoke yesterday to two different representatives from the SBA, they seem to still be trying to get guidance, and the Treasury Department last night released 31 pages of guidance that has conflicting information inside of it on how to do calculations for this. They updated, so I worked on a lot of clients' packages to assist them in this PPP program. This morning, the Treasury Department updated the loan application for the PPP. So SBA still has the old one up on their website in a sample form. Literally between our lenders that I speak with, our SBA reps that I speak with, and our Treasury reps that I speak with, nobody has definitive answers yet. Yeah. So the best advice that I could give is reach out to your bank. Talk to your bank, and I personally think that Tompkins has done an outstanding job so far. I've been in contact with your branch manager on a daily basis for about a week. Monday, she called me to yell at me and say, John, we don't even have information. Why have a half dozen of your clients called me already to get this loan? And I said, well, I just want to make sure my guys are going to be first on the list. So we're doing everything that we.
The package that Beth sent me is that she sent
no good anymore.
No good anymore. Thank God I didn't start on it. See, it's so good. I procrastinated.
Let me see if I can get this up here. I have the new loan application here, and I'm just going to put it up on the screen. This is the website with the new loan application that started this morning for this Paycheck Protection Program. So the information that was sent out anytime from yesterday prior, most of it had sample on it. The original application didn't list out sole proprietor, partnership, corporation. It only had not-for-profit and tribunal and veterans organization. So they've done a couple modifications here. We're still waiting on guidance in regards to the changes that have been made, because originally they needed to have every owner initial and sign off on the pages. Now they only need one, and it doesn't even say that it needs to be owner, so it could be a representative. I believe that we're going to continue to see changes in the guidance through the next week. Presently, your independent contractors and your sole proprietors are unable to put in an application until next week. And we are at the process of really just digesting everything that's come through, trying to get clarification from the Treasury Department, seeing what guidance the SBA has given, because this new directive from the Treasury Department that came out last night states that the SBA will give further guidance for it. And the SBA says they're being told by their supervisors to refer back to the lenders for guidance on it. So it is a merry-go-round of questions, as I'm sure that the banking industry has seen. I've talked to 6 different local banks, and everybody's in the same boat where they're still trying to get clarification. As far as taking on application, I'll give kudos again to you guys at Tompkins Bank, because I have a very good relationship with Ms. Lewis, and we were able to actually take our clients' applications together, and I was able to email them over to her. I know that she's trying to put them into the SBA website, but the SBA yesterday told me they 100% expect their website to crash multiple times throughout the day, and they expect it to continue that way for a while. Unfortunately, this is what we saw originally with the EIDL loans that first came out. When everybody first started getting on board about 3 weeks ago to start putting in for the EIDL loans, it was a multi-step application that would take hours of time and document uploads. Their system crashed multiple times, and they changed to a simpler revised one where you download the forms, you then upload them into one package. That lasted for about 3 days. Now the new EIDL loan application is much simpler, about 10 minutes online. All you need to know is some basic information on your business, your 12-month revenue, 12-month cost of goods sold, and the date you started. You could get a $10,000 advance through there that will be forgiven. But if you get both the EIDL and the PPP loan, then you're going to be in a situation where your PPP forgiveness will be reduced by the amount that you get on the advance of the EIDL. I'm making a recommendation based on our clients' individual needs. Some are only applying for the EIDL. Some are only applying for the PPP loan. And then there are other clients who we're having apply for both loans. The PPP loan is really just about getting the workforce to be reemployed or to keep them employed. The EIDL loan is to keep businesses' doors open and to make sure that your overhead is going to be covered for hopefully the remaining time that we're going to see this economic situation that we're in right now. So every situation is really unique. Everyone should be consulting with their tax advisor, should be consulting with their banks. You should be getting a ton of information. And unfortunately, a lot of rumors are out there that aren't confirmed. A lot of information out there is false. I had someone send out something to me today saying I need to stockpile because National Guard is being released and they're going to come and they're going to go into lockdown. And then I forwarded them a news article from 11 hours ago that said, please stop. This is totally invalid. And there is absolutely nothing like this. So I think most important is to know what your sources of information are. Everything that we're getting for our information is coming right from SBA, right from the Treasury Department. We are trying to make sure that anything that we're putting out to our clients and we're putting out through the Holston Media Tap Into links that go out to about 10,000 residents in the Hudson Valley region are all based on factual information that has already been done or is already in a draft form from the government.
We do have a couple of questions. If you
I saw those questions. If you don't mind, I'm gonna ask this first question. I'm not gonna give a name, but the first question is, I completed my application today for the SBA PPP application. I'll read the rest, but then I'll go back. What documentation do I need to submit with this? Where and how do I submit my application to Tompkins Bank? John, do you want me to hand that one over to you, or do you want me to?
Sure, I'll answer that one. Yeah.
Perfect.
So what documentation do we need? We could certainly supply that information. We've been sending out email blasts to our customers. John, I'm not sure if you were privy to that, the email blast, but it provided a documentation checklist. The documentation that we need are essentially going to be the 940s, 941s, just to support the payroll. Any information you have on health insurance premiums. Also looking to see what debts that you have, because part of your proceeds can be used for debt servicing. And then I think we need articles of organization or incorporation. These are supporting documents. These are not documents we supply to the SBA. These are documents that we need to, one, do our own certification to the SBA, and then secondly is to help our customer then that once they have the funding to also deal with part two, which is apply for the debt forgiveness. So the application can be submitted to the bank electronically. Everything is being done through email, PDF files, and so forth, even Word documents, if you can imagine that. So everything is being done electronically. The SBA has designed this program to be done electronically. And we're going to be submitting applications to the SBA through their portal electronically. John, I don't know if you want anything else, but
no, that's it. Right now, the big thing, and we're updating all of our clients' applications for this based on what the new application is that came out this morning. We're pretty much expecting to see changes come again in the next week. But what we've done is we were able to get a lot of our clients emailed over to your bank. I've reached out to multiple other banks and they have not done that. Some banks are using a third-party lending source. They don't have their website up yet either. A lot of banks, nationwide banks, have websites up, but the only thing that they're taking right now is your name, tax ID number, and your contact information. And they say, don't call us, we'll call you. So right now it's mostly everybody is in a position where they're trying to get ready for this large influx, get ready for uploading to the SBA system, and just try to get all the paperwork together. Now, like you had said previously, all this is going to be based on a certification from the owners of the businesses saying that this is factual, this is true, here's my documentation to prove it. And from that point forward, we're hoping that we're going to start seeing disbursements coming very quickly. That was one of the concerns that a lot of bankers had told me, was when I had said originally the criteria was saying that it was going to be packed through the SBA and they were going to do 100% backing. That's a big change. Previously it was 75% on most 7A loans. And now that they're doing 100% backing and the federal government wants to see the approvals and the disbursements in the same day, every banker I talked to basically gave a laugh on that one because of the complexities behind. There you go. John's got the laugh going already.
That wasn't a laugh out of happiness either.
Yeah, it's great initiative on the government's part, but as far as the rollout goes, there's going to be a lot of hiccups. There's going to be a lot of changes in procedure. There's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. And I think one of the most important things is to be persistent. It's important to continue to keep a good relationship with your bank. And it's important to stay on top of it. It's your business. It's something very important. And it's really one of the only opportunities that I can think of in the history where this is literally money that's being given out by the government. And I say given out because the criteria is so small for it, for a loan underwriting. And they're giving forgiveness just so that we could see employment numbers go back. Right now, we just got our numbers yesterday at another 6.5 million unemployed. Employment applications went in last week on top of the 3.3 million revised number from the week prior. So we're at 10 million applications of unemployment in a 2-week span. And I think we're only hitting the tip of the iceberg. I have more clients who are calling me from essential businesses that were released recently this week. I think these numbers are going to get higher and higher. We've seen people who have been applying and they've tried for 5 hours to get through and they keep getting kicked off the website or they can't get through on the phone call. So there's a lot of overwhelming need for unemployment insurance right now. The federal government has seen that need. Federal government's giving out an extra $600 a week for unemployment in order to cover the gap there. That's supposed to start this weekend. We're supposed to start seeing that included with your weekly benefits. We're seeing this huge influx right now of these PPP questions and applications. The EIDL application has changed 3 times in 10 days because they saw the large influx. It's going to be a system overload that we're going to need to really adjust on our abilities for technology. And I think that every bank is working as diligently as they possibly can between their compliance office, their accounting office, and their technology office to try to make this right. And I think we just need to be able to understand that, unfortunately, while the government said, hey, it's going to be done today and you'll get your check by the end of the day, when it comes to a rollout, it just isn't the way that it's happening. If you don't mind, I'll just move on to a couple more questions that I see here.
Before you do, please.
Yep.
Couple of things. So I want, in summary on that, you both feel very confident that the government's doing everything that they possibly can to get as much money out to help people as much as humanly possible. It's just a little glitchy. My layman version of what you just said.
I'm going to disagree on the little glitchy. It's very glitchy. But I do agree. I do agree with the government's intent. The intent of the program is wonderful. And keep in mind that this is something that just got signed into law last week. So here we are 7 days, and we're all frustrated that we're not able to get up and running here. But as John mentioned, that this could have some serious hiccups the first few days, and I think most bankers would agree with that. But I think once we're able to smooth out the wrinkles, then I think it should be a nice flowing program here. The question is, how long will the funding last? So we're being told as a first come first serve, and certainly I think every bank in the nation is out there trying to get their clients' applications in as fast as they can.
Okay. So John, you want to answer the questions?
Sure.
Right.
So
questions?
as far as as far as the first come first serve goes, one of the things that was talked about yesterday in the press conference was from the Treasury, and they had said they expect the money to dry up. Phase 4 is coming. Get your applications in. I've never heard a recommendation from the federal government before, but they said if you are a small business owner, you need to apply for this loan. I've never seen anything in the history of our currency where the federal government has said, come and get free money. In fact, I've had so many clients who have asked, this is too good to be true. Nothing is free. And the way that this looks, as long as we are going to make a effort of reemployment and we're going to put 75% of these loan proceeds on this PPP loan in to payroll costs, which can include your retirement contributions, your healthcare costs, you are going to be forgiven on the loan. The other 25% is going to be able to be used for utilities, for rent, or for mortgage interest. Initially, that was not part of the criteria. 48 hours ago, the Treasury Department said it anticipated that it was going to need that. Now, in their recent release from last night, it says that it does need that 75% criteria for payroll in order for the loan to be forgiven. I think that the government, again, back to that good initiative part, I think that they knew that there were going to be hiccups. And I think that's why they said, we want our sole proprietors and our independent contractors to apply for this PPP loan starting next Friday. So that's question number 2. Should sole proprietors wait until next week to apply? Sole proprietors have to wait until next week to apply. I think that this is part of their attempt at a smoother rollout. Hopefully in 5 more business days, a lot of the glitches will be worked out. A lot of the information will start to get uploaded quicker, and we'll start to see checks dispersed. There's really, unfortunately, no timeline that I've gotten from any bank on what they really expect for people to start receiving funds from this PPP. Everybody that I've talked to says we are going to work our best to get it done as quick as possible, but a lot of it is based on the SBA system for the uploads. A lot of it's based on the individual bank's capabilities for what they can handle. So one of the largest nationwide banks this morning, their site crashed. I was talking to a bank representative and they said, no, it's not crashed. I said, I'm looking at it right now. They went online. They said, thanks for letting me know. It's crashed. We went back up. We got to put in applications, but the application that we were able to put in on these banks was simply, what's the company name? What's the tax ID number? Who's the contact? Thank you. So I believe that right now, the best thing to do is be prepared. If you have payroll service, start getting your reports together. A lot of payroll providers are already compiling reports that are specific to this criteria for what's considered compensation and wages. A lot of accounting firms are already starting to work with their clients in regards to getting the supporting documentation that would be needed, whether it be a previous year's tax return, a P&L statement, the balance sheets, their articles of organization. We have clients we're working with now to try to get information up in Albany, putting in orders because they were created 40 years ago. They don't know where their certificate of incorporation is. So what we're doing is we're basically trying to work on compiling packages. So when this does open up, our clients are going to be ready to be first online, get their money as soon as they possibly can. As far as the EIDL loan goes, this is another question here. I applied several days ago for the EIDL, haven't received anything back from the SBA. Not sure if it's progressing. How long is it generally to hear back from the SBA? So my client who submitted before any lockdowns went into effect, really started the ball rolling. They got their first communication 2 days ago from an SBA lender asking for additional criteria. They then got the call today saying that they were going to be getting the approval to go forward to supervisor and for the final sign off by an attorney. And they would expect to hear about funding next week. Now, part of this EIDL program that they started to do as recently as this week included that $10,000 advance. So if you signed up under the new platform for the $10,000 advance, they expected that they were going to have checks directly deposited within 3 business days. That would have been today. We should have started seeing checks go in. Every one of my clients who did their application did not see a check go in. When I spoke to the SBA yesterday, they were asking me if anybody had gotten it. They asked me again today, and they said they weren't surprised that they did not see those advance checks go in yet. So a lot of this is really going to be a matter of being patient, being vigilant, and doing everything that you can to stay on top of your information. So when that window does open, you have a complete package that's ready to go. I know 2 weeks ago when you had the woman who was an SBA representative, that was her first piece of advice, was get ready, have your paperwork all together, because when you upload it, we want to have everything so it can be easily looked at, reviewed, all I's dotted, T's crossed. Here's your check for disbursement. Best thing you could do is just over prepare with the information that you're going to need to provide to the banks right now. The more information, the better. Like John said, a lot of this isn't going to get forwarded off to the SBA, but the bank still has to have at least some validity to say, sure, here's your $100,000 payment that we're going to give you. The bank will need some verification. So that's a lot of why these criteria are being written. They're very, very loose compared to the stringent regulations that normally go along with the 7A SBA loan. And now it's really a matter of just making sure that you're going to have your stuff together. You're going to be able to apply for the appropriate loan. And we've gotten calls throughout the entire week, throughout the past 3 weeks, on what should I be doing? How should I be going through this? We're trying to send out information about twice a week in regards to it. And we're getting a lot of good feedback from our clients. Our clients are actually giving us a lot of information that we didn't have previously. So I think it's imperative to keep an open relationship, keep communication open. And right now, that's really what's going to get us through probably one of the worst times that we'll ever see in our economy, in our businesses, and in the general well-being of our country and our world right now. Just, try to keep a level head, try to keep a positive attitude, and just make sure that you keep on top of what you need to keep on top of. There are so many things outside of our control right now that we are unable to do anything about. But what we can control is what we should be concentrating on. We can control meetings like this. We can control conversations with our advisors. We can control conversations with our bank, and we can control our relationships that we have. The things that we can't control are government regulations, are changes in application processes, are how much money is going to be in phase 4. All these things are unknowns. Right now, it's just a matter of knowing what the facts are, working within the environment that we're giving, and try to get your applications in as soon as you can. That is across the board the best thing that you could do. Submit applications as quickly as you can, but as complete as you can. The EIDL is the simplest one that you can do right now. This third version is amazing. The feedback that I got from clients who have used it and the discussions that I had with SBA members, everybody's in love with this third application. Now, if you need an advance, in addition to the PPL, get online with the EIDL right now, because this EIDL advance is very limited.
SBA.gov.
SBA.gov, that's it. In fact, if you want, I think I actually may have it in here already up, but I'm not sure.
While you're looking at that, someone had a question. I think one of you said that SBA rep would be calling, and because there's so many scams out there right now, how does somebody determine if someone from SBA is calling them?
So the first thing that I would recommend would be to ask, okay, you're from the SBA, you have my application. What's my tax ID number? That right there will end any scam.
Makes sense.
Mm.
Great.
And absolutely, there's scams coming from Social Security. There's scams coming from the IRS. There's scams coming from police departments. There's scams everywhere. Right now, we may be getting hacked on our Zoom conference, right? That's the most recent thing that's being out there.
I saw that.
So I think it's important to, again, keep that clear head. But a lot of this is going to be making sure that you're covering yourself. So if you do get a call from someone and they say, hey, I got your loan application, just ask if they can verify some of the information that you put in there. Because there's no way that anyone who's trying to take anything from you is going to be able to give you any valid information.
That makes sense. John Kraus, you have anything to add to that?
No, John covered it very well. My God, he's very well informed, but that is tremendous advice, John. That's exactly what we've been telling our customers. Be over prepared. In fact, when we first started advising our customers earlier in the week and letting them know whether the volume of documentation that's going to be required, and again, it's not that voluminous, but still, it is additional documentation because all they see is a 2-page application from the SBA. Is that, oh, this is easy. Why does the bank need all this here? And John spelled it out just exactly the reason why. And we have to make certifications on behalf of our client to the SBA, which is why we need the backup documentation. So John, that was great advice there to all the clients, and anybody looking for an accountant, there's your man right there.
I greatly appreciate that pitch.
Well, it's a good combo. Schneider Financial and Mayapack Bank.
Absolutely.
All right.
I think really, and it's not about about the accounting firm or the financial planning firm. It's really just about being a resource right now. That's our main goal, is to give out information. So many people from the past 3 weeks have been calling, asking questions. What do I do? And more along the lines of what we really try to do here is we try to be great advisors. We try to be really good sounding boards for our clients, and we try to also give them a dose of reality sometimes. Right now, the reality is nobody knows what's going on. Right. Treasury, SBA, lenders, everybody's waiting for more guidance, trying to get through these hurdles. And every minute things are changing. So very important, just keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, and just look for valid information coming out. I think really some of the best stuff that we can do is just continue to be resources for our community, similar to what the bank is doing, similar to what your business organization is doing. We just need to be there for each other, help each other out, and try to be, the great community that we are. Small community with a really big set of goals. Love it.
Amen. Okay, let me just make sure there wasn't any questions to you guys, and then I'm gonna just, we did. Yes, this presentation will be available online, although I messed up the beginning of it, so it may take us a little longer. Got to figure out what John recorded, but we'll get it. But this whole entire presentation about the PPA and the EIDL is definitely recorded and will be online very soon afterwards. I just want to finish up a couple of things that I got messed up on because I messed myself up. The census. It is extremely important that you guys fill out the census. It does say that the last date was April 1st, and this information was given to me by Judy Callahan of CAP, because I've been asking her to keep us in touch to let us know what is going on with her organization. So the April 1st was the first target date, and after that they were supposed to go out canvassing door to door, which is obviously not going to happen. So the assumption is that the date is just extended. So we're asking everybody to please fill them out. If you need help, you can dial 844-330-2020 for English, or 844-468-2020 for Spanish. But the amount of funding for our municipalities and schools is dependent upon the census count. And obviously with all that is going on, it's extremely important that we get our fair share, but that will not happen without you filling out the censuses. So we ask that you do that. And one other little thing, I think I did all that. Yep. And just real quick, United Way, because they have just been doing so much, I want to give their report. I already told you yesterday, they partnered with Putnam County government, the Food Bank of Hudson Valley, and Ride Connect to distribute 10,000 pounds of food to about 800 families in Putnam. The census was put into all those bags, so that's good. 325 bags of groceries were delivered by volunteers to seniors and those who were immune compromised. We will continue to do that next week, but we'll require all recipients to pre-register so they don't run out of food. This was the first week that meals were delivered to 23 clients who are seniors and or immune compromised through the partnership with Putnam County Business Council, United Way, and Community Cares. Legislator Amy Stage has been working really hard with Faith Butcher on these efforts, and I commend them both. United Way announced that it has released funds totaling up to $15,000 through grants to nonprofits in Putnam County. We will be awarding grants up to $5,000 to nonprofits directly providing in-home services such as telehealth or the delivery of meals or groceries for senior citizens or individuals who are chronically ill, immune compromised during the COVID-19 public emergency here in Putnam County. And lastly, United Way is working with the Community Foundation of the Hudson Valley on helping the local nonprofits. In a joint effort, they have created Putnam County COVID-19 response funds, which will benefit the nonprofits serving Putnam County affected by the coronavirus public health emergency. They are also holding a meeting with Putnam nonprofits on April 14th to learn about their needs and identify ways that we can best support them. And lastly, with the EDC, Kathleen Abels and I have been in regular conversation. We have started a survey. It's about 90% done that will be going out to businesses next week, probably Tuesday. And we're putting the survey out there so we can figure out how we can best serve you and how we can best support your needs. And we're also going to take this information and get it to federal, state, and local representatives so they have a better idea of what's going on, because quite frankly, they're running around like crazy people right now. So we look forward to getting that survey out to you. I can't thank Tompkins Mahopac Bank enough for being our sponsor and for coming on today and providing you with us, John Kraus, to give all this information. And John Schneider from Schneider Financial Group, thank you so much. You are certainly super knowledgeable. I just want to double check. No other questions. So another one of these down. And
hey, Jennifer, I just want to add, and thank you for that. I just want to add, just to give everybody an idea of the scale of this, I've just learned just before coming on to the session that our bank has already received over 500 applications for the PPP program. And we expect more to come in next week. And we're just one of 4 banks in the Tompkins enterprise. And we're the smallest of the 4 banks. So it's probably safe to say that Tompkins alone has received already over 2,000 applications. So multiply that by the thousands of banks across the nation and including some of the major banks. And you get the idea of why there's concerns that $349 billion may not cut it.
well, I did wake up and pray for bankers this morning. I said, this is not going to be an easy day. I should have included accountants. Sorry.
No worries. I think it's just important to know that I think things are going to get worse before they get better, unfortunately. So stay vigilant.
Yeah.
Stay on top of what you can. Keep listening to the news. I can almost guarantee phase 4 is coming, and it's going to include bigger numbers than anyone ever thought was possible. The last bailout that we had 12 years ago was $800 billion, and we thought that was astronomical. We're at $2 trillion with like $6 trillion ready to go. So it's the only good thing that is in this is that we are now lending out to other countries in need. So while we think, okay, we're just going to keep printing money and it's going to devalue the dollar, we're still the place that the entire world looks to for guidance. And our government is really doing what I think is a really amazing job trying to address things and trying to address them quickly. And unfortunately, when you do address things very quickly, you do hit a lot of stumbling blocks. A lot of the I's aren't dotted, a lot of the T's aren't crossed. And that's why we're going to continue to see these changes in guidance. But just stay on top of it. Support your first responders. I know right now we got Putnam County Health Department doing an amazing job. We have our local police departments, our sheriff. There's just so many people out there who are on the front lines, our nurses, our doctors, and it's just a matter of trying to be supportive for one another, be there for one another, and we get through this together.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you to Richard Weiss and Ed Durkee for the kind words. And thank you for everybody that joined on. And everything will be available, all the reports that I sort of sped through, and all the application information links will all be available as well on PutnamCountyBusinessCouncil.com in about an hour, and also on our Facebook page, which is at Putnam Biz, B-I-Z. Okay, I think that concludes this week. Next week, we are going to have Michael Oates from the Hudson Valley Economic Development Corporation, and we will also have a couple of elected officials. I know Sue Serino is going to be on, and I think Senator Harkam is going to be on live. So have a great week, everybody, and keep the information flowing. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Good seeing you,
Have a
John.
good weekend. Stay safe and healthy, everybody.
Yes.